Every day, we pass by people we choose not to see. A man sitting on the cold pavement, head down, clothes torn, hands trembling, not just from the weather, but from the weight of being invisible. We tell ourselves he's just another stranger, another lost cause, maybe even someone who made too many bad decisions. But behind every tired face is a story we never bothered to ask about. This is the story of one such man, a man who lost everything, a man society gave up on, a man the world saw as broken beyond repair. But life has a strange way of flipping the script when we least expect it. His name is Mike, and this is how he went from forgotten to unforgettable. Just a few years ago, Mike was like any of us. He had a steady job, a small apartment, a few close friends. He wasn't rich, but he had enough. Enough to eat, enough to smile, enough to feel like he belonged somewhere in the world. But life doesn't always ask for permission before it crashes everything down. It started with a layoff. The company downsized. Mike was let go, not for anything he did, just wrong place, wrong time. He thought he'd bounce back quickly. He applied everywhere, waited for callbacks that never came. Weeks turned into months. Bills piled up. Rent went unpaid. Eventually, the eviction notice came. One moment he was locking his apartment at night. The next, he had nowhere to go. And as if that wasn't enough, the pressure pushed his relationships to the edge. People distanced themselves. Calls stopped. Friends disappeared. Even family stopped answering the phone. One wrong decision made it worse. In a moment of desperation, he trusted the wrong person, made a choice out of fear, and it cost him everything. Just like that, Mike wasn't someone with a future anymore. He was homeless, he was alone, and for the first time in his life, he felt truly forgotten. The streets don't forgive, they don't wait. They don't care who you used to be. For Mike, every day was a battle, just to survive. He learned quickly that homelessness wasn't just about losing a roof. It was about losing your identity. Mornings began with cold limbs and an aching back from sleeping on concrete. Hunger wasn't just a feeling, it was a constant companion. The kind that gnaws at your strength, your will, your dignity. People stared, but never spoke. Or worse, pretended he wasn't there at all. And that silence? It was louder than anything he'd ever heard. He tried to stay clean, tried to find shelters, but they were always full, or unsafe, or miles away with no way to get there. Nights were the worst. When the city quieted and the world moved on without him, Mike would sit under flickering streetlights, wondering how it all went so wrong, so fast. Every sound felt like a threat. Every shadow a reason to stay awake just a little longer. There were days when he didn't eat. There were nights when he questioned if waking up again was even worth it. But the hardest part wasn't the hunger, wasn't the cold, wasn't even the fear. It was the feeling that no one cared if he lived or died. And in that quiet, painful space is where many give up. But Mike didn't. Something in him still flickered. Small, faint, but alive. A tiny voice whispering, "Not yet." Sometimes, all it takes is one person to remind you that you still matter. Mike didn't expect anything from anyone anymore. He had stopped asking, stopped hoping, stopped believing that help would come. But one cold evening, as he sat outside a diner, tired and defeated, something different happened. A man walked out with a coffee in one hand and a sandwich in the other. Instead of walking past like everyone else, he stopped. He looked at Mike, not with pity, but with presence. Not like a problem, but like a person. He didn't say much, just offered the food and said, "I don't know your story, but I hope this helps a little." Mike didn't know what to say. His voice had grown quiet from disuse. His hands trembled, not just from the cold, but from disbelief. It wasn't just the sandwich. It was the first time in months that someone saw him. Truly saw him. That simple act, a meal and a moment of human connection, planted something small in Mike's heart. A flicker of dignity, a whisper of hope, a reason to take one more step forward. Because when someone reminds you that you still matter, it can be enough to change everything. And for Mike, that was the moment that broke the silence. The moment things slowly began to turn around. Hope doesn't always arrive like lightning. Sometimes it's just a quiet moment that makes you believe again. That night, as Mike finished the sandwich and sipped the coffee, something shifted. It wasn't dramatic, but it was real. He realized he wanted more than just survival. He wanted a second chance. The next morning, he walked farther than usual. He found a small shelter on the edge of town. It was crowded, the rules were strict, but it was safe. And for the first time in months, he slept in a bed. That one night turned into a week, then 2. He cleaned himself up as best he could, borrowed donated clothes, sat through workshops the shelter offered, listened, learned. He applied for jobs, any job. No role was too small. He faced rejection after rejection. Doors closed in his face more times than he could count. But he kept showing up, because the difference now was belief. He believed he could get back up, and that belief was louder than the doubt. It wasn't easy. There were days when it felt like nothing was changing. But deep down, Mike knew. Progress doesn't always look like success. Sometimes it just looks like not giving up. And that's exactly what he did. Step by step. Day by day. He walked toward the life he almost forgot he deserved. Time didn't hand Mike anything easily. But after weeks of searching, someone finally gave him a shot. A small job cleaning up a hardware store after hours. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't permanent, but it was a start. Mike showed up every single day. Early, focused, grateful. He didn't complain. He didn't cut corners. He treated that job like it was gold, because to him, it was. The store owner noticed, so he offered Mike more hours. Then a recommendation. Then a second job, this time during the day, helping unload shipments at a warehouse. Mike worked double shifts. He saved every coin. No drugs, no distractions, no excuses. He started walking straighter, talking more, laughing again. A few months later, he was able to rent a tiny room. Not much, but it had a door, a bed, and a sense of dignity. He didn't stop there. He kept working, kept learning. Eventually, he enrolled in a community program to learn trade skills. He got certified in forklift operation, then basic carpentry. Doors that once slammed shut were now opening, slowly but surely. And the man who once begged for change outside a diner was now building a life with his own 2 hands. No shortcuts, no miracles, just consistency, grit, and a decision to rise, again and again. From sidewalk to steady ground, Mike wasn't just surviving anymore. He was moving forward. Years ago, Mike couldn't even imagine what stability felt like. Now, he wakes up every morning in a small apartment he pays for with his own money. He brews his own coffee. He irons his work shirt. He locks his door and walks out with purpose. He's not rich. He's not famous. But he has something far more powerful than both: self-respect. He's no longer cleaning floors. He's leading a team of workers at the same warehouse that gave him a second chance. His old boss calls him dependable. His neighbors call him kind. His co-workers call him inspiring. But what matters most? Mike calls himself worthy. Worthy of peace. Worthy of progress. Worthy of being seen. He now volunteers at the same shelter that once gave him a bed. He shares his story with others just like him, those still stuck in the dark, not knowing if there's a way out. Mike doesn't pretend it was easy. He knows what it means to feel broken. He remembers what rock bottom tastes like. But now, he uses his past to light the way forward, not just for himself, but for others too. He's proof that no matter how far you fall, no matter how forgotten you feel, you can still rise. It's easy to judge what we don't understand, to look at someone on the street and assume the worst, to walk past thinking they chose that life. But Mike's story reminds us, behind every worn face is a past. Behind every scar, a struggle. Behind every broken moment, a chance to rebuild. He was written off by the world, ignored, abandoned, forgotten. Yet he rose, not because someone saved him, but because someone believed in him. And eventually, he believed in himself. You never know what a person is fighting through, what pain they hide, what hope they cling to. Sometimes, all it takes is one kind act, 1 second of compassion, one moment where someone says, "I see you." Mike's turnaround didn't happen overnight, but it happened, not because he was lucky, but because he was resilient. So the next time you see someone who's struggling, don't look away, because they might just be one moment away from turning their entire life around. And who knows, their comeback might be the greatest story you've never heard.